Ooh, good afternoon, YouTube. This is one of these videos where I'm just kind of torn on this. And this is a fragrance review again. And this is one of these fragrances that I don't know if I want to share. I just don't. The problem is with, here's the thing, right? Let's just, give me a minute, okay? Just bear with me. Hear me out. Here's the thing when it comes to watches, right? I can review a watch and, you know, I have it. It's done deal. So I review a watch, and if people are like, God, I gotta have it, and you go out and buy it and they sell out, and next thing you know, maybe the price jumps, I'm not really too concerned because I have the watch. It's a done deal. With fragrances, it's a different story because when these things come out, right, and they're like, oh, well, nobody hears about them, and I'm sure you've heard of Armaf Craze before. If you haven't, just go sit down and relax. Okay, we're getting to it. You know, the thing about a fragrance is that eventually I'm going to use this up, and I want to be able to buy it for an affordable price when I need to, right? And with fragrance collecting, right, or fragrance reviewing, really collecting, right? I don't know if you're like me, but part of the fun and the journey is trying to find, it's almost like trying to find that holy grail, right? It's like trying to find that perfect scent that just, you're just like, you know, just makes you just like euphoric almost, right? And I have smelled like over 300 fragrances, right? I have probably close to 300 with all the samples I got back there and all the full bottles, and I don't really know how many I have, but I am always buying fragrances, right? And it's just, it's a real passion I have, and a lot of fun getting something, researching my Fragrantica, scratching my head, wondering, and then that moment, that anticipating getting it, popping the cap and spraying it, and sometimes only to be disappointed. Not really disappointed in the fact that, you know, I don't like the way it smells, but disappointed in the fact that it's like, this isn't really, you know, getting me all hot and bothered, you know what I mean, so to speak. This isn't really like, oh man, yeah, you know, it's not doing that for me. And so part of the, again, collecting is the journey and finding the scents. Now, there's plenty of scents I have where that they do it for me. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I look at the other ones and be like, I'll find it eventually. I'm always finding ones where I'm like, ugh. But then I'm finding ones also I'm just like, you know, I'll still wear it, you know. Perfect example is like a great scent is like Guess, right? I love cheapies. Guess, right? 1891 or whatever hell it is, Los Angeles, 20 bucks. It's a fine fragrance, but, you know, it's good, but it's not like, oh man, this isn't life-changing, you know. It's a great fragrance, I'll wear the hell out of it. Then you find fragrances like this, that you're like, all right, well, you know, I'm sure it's going to be good. But then you get it and you're like, oh my God, like, where have you been all my life? This is what love feels like? This is what it's supposed to be like? Like, wow, those other gals were just skanks. Ladies, nobody in particular. So, but you get my point. Like, this is an amazing juice, and you really can't go wrong with Armaf Craze. So, without, you know, you guys are going for Fragrantica now, like I hope you do. And remember, Fragrantica is just a tool in your toolbox. Do not take it 100% literally, because the way people rate these things on here are just like, I don't know what the fuck they're rating sometimes. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? That smells nothing like that. Now, again, they're not really wrong because fragrance, the way fragrances smell, it is kind of subjective. So a lot of times, though, I do think people like just kind of overhype these. I'm not sure. I guess I'm just not sure. But I do share it with you guys regardless. So this one here is supposed to be a, I'm not going to say clone. It may be a clone. In this case, because I've never actually smelled Parfums de Marly Pegasus, and I probably never will for the price. I won't buy it, and I'm not going to, you know, if I'm in a store somewhere and I happen to. The thing is, like, where you go to smell stuff like that, I don't like the. I don't want to overgeneralize, but I'm not very pretentious, so at all, and so I don't really like to go somewhere waste a sales associate's time, like smelling something I'm not going to buy, right? But this for 32 bucks. Hell yeah, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy the fuck out of this. So, 300, and this is where Fragrantica, it can be reliable, and it can be unreliable. So if we go looking at this, right, and we say, okay, well, some folks think 59 votes for Hypnotic Poison by Dior. 36 votes said it didn't smell like that. We have, let me get more of a real polarized opinion. Like, here's one by, well, all right, Dolce & D&G Anthology La Force 11. 7 people say this smells like that, or vice versa, and 6 people say it doesn't. So that's pretty polarized. We don't really know. We can't really, you know, that doesn't really have any credit in my opinion. But when we look at the review on Pegasus, 397 people said this smells like Pegasus, and 51 said it does not. So that's pretty good odds that it does. Now, there's usually going to be a little bit of differences, right? And without smelling it, I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. I don't care to smell Pegasus, because for the price on this, this is absolutely incredible. And if this smelled like nothing, like if there was no comparisons, it wouldn't really matter to me. I'm just glad I got my hands on it. So, it almost brings tears to my eyes. This is friggin' incredible. This is, and I gotta shout out Bobby Porch. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, I rarely give shout outs, but I gotta hand it to him. The guy is a smooth motherfucker, and you know, he does a little short on this in a review. You know, we are who we are, and I'm not really smooth. You know what I mean? I'm just a everyday guy. You know, I have a lot of confidence, right? But you know, I wouldn't consider myself smooth. You know, like I'm a kid on Christmas morning reviewing this shit. Like when I'm reviewing a cologne, there is no sexy behind it. I'm just like, oh fuck, check this out, right? I'm excited about it. Whereas, you know, Bobby Porch, smooth motherfucker. So check his channel out if you haven't, and get his take on this. So what do you get with this? So the main accords, and I like to pick 3 when I look at this. I'm going to give you them all, but the most important one's going to be your top 3. This is an almond, vanilla, powdery scent. And then we'll go with the 4th, nutty, right? And then if we go down the list, we have sweet, fruity, floral, fresh, spicy, amber, woody. I don't know how you can really classify something that much. You know what I mean? You're going to get some, you're really going to get 3, even, honestly, even 3 is kind of a hard vibe to get. But after looking at it, I can kind of see, it's just so good. Oh man. All right, so almond, vanilla, powdery. That's it. You know, if you've ever smelled something that's powdery, kind of like, and I'm not comparing these two at all, but it's hard sometimes to listen, to read, or hear somebody say it's powdery. Well, what the hell does that mean? You know, baby powder? No, I don't get baby powder. But if you've ever smelled Van Cleef & Arpels Midnight in Paris, they call it like a makeup bag kind of vibe, and that's probably because a lot of makeup is powdery. But there's a powderiness vibe, and I guess you can only really kind of know what that's like until you smell other fragrances that have that powdery vibe. But it does have a powdery vibe, heavy on the almond and heavy on the vanilla. And that's really, this fragrance really solidifies what I need to look for in future fragrances. I used to never like vanilla, and I'll give you a little story. It was because this chick, some chick, I don't know who it was, I don't even know her name. Sorry. She wore Vanilla Fields, and I probably would actually like that scent now, but I didn't like, here's how polarized it can be. I never really liked the way vanilla smelled. I always found it very off-putting. Now, go, 25 years later, and one of my ex-girlfriends wore a lot of vanilla. It was like one of these vanilla body sprays, and I just grew to love it, right? So, and I can say that with things that it has nothing to do with the female. It's just sometimes our tastes change along the way, and sometimes you gotta smell something and be like, it's not for me, and then you grow to appreciate it more. Same thing with rose. There's no like specific person or specific moment that I said, I actually like the way rose smells. I always thought it was off-putting, but as I got older, I like rose fragrances. That's probably because I've evolved in my scent journey. You know what I mean? So vanilla is definitely something I look for in a fragrance now, and it wasn't until recently that I discovered that with this fragrance. And then I get a lot of vanilla out of Guess Seduction Red. 2 sexy, warm, creamy, without overly sweet fragrances that are fantastic. Smell nothing like one another, but this is an absolute hidden gem. And what I want you guys know I use affiliate links, no surprise. The link is in description, unfortunately, but I prefer I prefer you not buy this, because I don't want the price to jump and this thing to one day be $300 like Van Cleef & Arpels Midnight in Paris. Don't buy it. It's not for you. But I'll tell you, it's for me. Oh my God. It's almost like, I almost feel about this like my journey is coming to an end almost. I almost feel like, is this my favorite fragrance out of all these, you know? Could it be? Is there something I'm going to smell that I'm like, and right now, this is my favorite fragrance. It's unbelievable. All right, so enough of that. I'm not going to do all the comparisons here. Let me give you the notes. Heliotrope, cumin, and bergamot in the top. We have bitter almond, lavender, jasmine, and sage in the middle notes. And of course, we have in the base notes vanilla, amber, and sandalwood. What do I get from this? I like to pick three. What's the vibe? Let me just. It's been an hour or so, so let me just. Oh my God. I gotta get the arm. I gotta get the arm. So when you first spray this, there is a little bit of that alcohol tinge, I'll call it, which I get. There's not a fragrance that I've ever sprayed on that I don't get some alcohol. There's alcohol in fragrances, so less, I think, if you go into like an EDP. But, I mean, for an EDT, I mean, you're going to, and I believe this is a, what is this thing here? Is it an EDP? I'm not sure if they are. This might be an EDP. Yeah, not sure. It doesn't really matter, right? But I always get that little bit of blast of alcohol. I think that's pretty common. And some guys will say that is an indicator of quality. I don't really think so. And very quickly that's gone. And then what you're really left is, you definitely get that. You can definitely pick up the flowery notes. Like, I don't know if I'd necessarily be like, oh, I smell the heliotrope, lavender, and jasmine, and sage, but you definitely get a floral kind of vibe to it. You definitely get that we're not bitter almond, but just almond. I don't think you could tell an almond from a bitter almond. I mean, I think it's just a way to describe the notes sometimes, make it sound fancier. But you definitely get a little bit of wood, and you get that vanilla. The vanilla is, I think, really kind of the star of the show on this. I think when we look at, the general vibe is, man, it's just a powdery vanilla almond note, and there's some floral in there. That's the best way to describe it. There are guys out there who are going to review these and be like, first you're going to open with the heliotrope and bergamot, and then slowly the fragrance settles down. You start to get the bitter almond. Like, dude, I don't fucking get any of that shit. I'm like, what's the vibe? And ultimately, what it really comes down to is my goal in doing these videos is share them with you guys and have you check them out and hear back from you. And if you like them, of course, use my affiliate link. That's great. But I'll tell you, of all the fragrances I have, this is just absolutely killer. And I never would have thought, by looking at the notes, that I'd say, oh, this is something I'm even going to want to try. But I don't know. Sometimes when you have a fragrance that's really expensive, like Pegasus, right? And, people rave over it. They say, oh, man, well, it's so expensive. Here's something I could try that's cheaper. And then you give it a chance, and you're like, wow, this is pretty incredible. So sometimes those expensive fragrances really kind of open the door for, like, an example of how great a fragrance can smell. Which, let's face it, they're all pretty amazing. That's why it's so addictive, There's so many different fragrances out there that are just so much fun to oh, my God. And let me just put it like this. I don't think... If you get, I'm going to quote Bobby Porch. Let me try to emulate him. Go ahead and pick this up. Here's what you're not going to be disappointed. And that's really what it comes down to. If you pick this up, you're not going to be disappointed. I don't think you're going to have anything in your collection that quite smells like this, unless you have Pegasus. So I think that if you don't, and you're looking for something that smells different, you pick this up. This is, I can't imagine any female not being like, oh my God, you smell like I just want to just kind of do things to you. It's that good, all joking aside. So check it out, Armaf Craze. you're not going to be disappointed. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day. Let me know if you have this. Let me know your vibes on this. I always appreciate when you guys drop comments. As always, give the video a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs down if you don't like me. I don't give a shit. And then do subscribe to the channel, though. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.